Time is like a river, constantly flowing, never standing still. This reflection from Marcus Aurelius reminds us of a truth that feels increasingly distant in today's fast-paced, always-on world. Patience and long-term thinking, virtues once celebrated, now seem overshadowed by the demand for instant results, quick fixes, and fleeting rewards. But what if the key to a more peaceful, fulfilling life lies in reclaiming these timeless principles? In this video, we'll explore how the wisdom of Stoicism can teach us to endure challenges with grace, embrace the rhythm of time, and cultivate the patience needed to build a future worth waiting for. Whether you're seeking clarity in the chaos or a pathway to inner calm, stay with me, because what you'll discover today might just transform the way you approach your days, your goals, and even your most difficult moments. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. The red light seems to last an eternity. Your phone buzzes with emails you can't answer, and frustration bubbles up. You tap the steering wheel, check the time again, and feel that familiar twinge of impatience. We've all been there, caught in moments where things don't go as quickly or as smoothly as we'd like. But what does this kind of impatience really achieve? Does it make the traffic move faster? Does it make the light turn green sooner? Or does it simply increase our stress and leave us feeling powerless? This is where Stoicism offers a radically different approach. To the Stoics, patience wasn't just about waiting, it was about enduring. More than that, it was about accepting what you cannot control with a calm and steady mind. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us that what happens to you happens to all, but not all react the same way. In other words, while life's challenges are universal, our reactions to them are not. Patience, in the Stoic sense, is a demonstration of strength, not weakness. It is the choice to respond with self-control rather than frustration, to bear difficulties rather than be broken by them. For the Stoics, patience was an active virtue. It didn't mean sitting back and surrendering to fate. Instead, it meant engaging with life's obstacles in a way that preserved your inner peace and dignity. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, often wrote about enduring hardships with grace. He faced immense pressures, from wars to political upheaval, yet he consistently emphasized the importance of maintaining composure. His meditations are filled with reminders to embrace what comes your way, knowing it's all part of the natural order of life. To understand this better, let's contrast it with our modern tendency toward impatience. Today, we're conditioned to expect immediacy, instant messaging, same-day delivery, results at the click of a button. When things don't go our way or when we're forced to wait, we feel a sense of loss, as if time is being stolen from us. But the Stoics would challenge us to rethink this perspective. They might ask, what are you losing, really? Time continues to flow whether you meet it with anger or patience. The only variable is your state of mind. Take the example of Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who spent much of his life as a slave. Despite the hardships and restrictions he faced, he never let external circumstances dictate his inner peace. He taught that we don't control events, only our responses to them. Patience, then, is not passive, it's the deliberate act of choosing how to respond to the inevitable delays, frustrations, and difficulties of life. It's refusing to let external conditions stir up internal turmoil. The beauty of this approach is that it turns every challenge into an opportunity for growth. Traffic isn't just traffic, it's a chance to practice calm acceptance. A delayed project at work isn't just a delay, it's an opportunity to cultivate resilience and focus on the aspects you can influence. Patience becomes a tool for reclaiming control over your emotions, even when you have no control over the situation. So, the next time you find yourself growing impatient, ask yourself, what would the Stoics do? Would they curse the traffic, or would they use that moment to practice calm endurance, recognizing that impatience changes nothing but their own peace of mind? When you see patience through the Stoic lens, it becomes a form of quiet strength, a way to move through life's difficulties with grace, rather than letting those difficulties move you. One of the most powerful tools the Stoics offer us is the concept known as the Dichotomy of Control, a principle championed by the philosopher Epictetus. He put it simply, some things are up to us and some things are not. At first glance, this might sound obvious, almost trivial. Of course, some things are out of our control, right? But how often do we actually live as though we've internalized this truth? How much of our frustration, impatience, or even despair comes from trying to manage things that are quite simply beyond our reach? Let's break it down. According to Epictetus, the things within our control include our thoughts, our actions, our choices, and how we respond to situations. On the other hand, things that are not in our control include the behavior of others, external events, and outcomes that depend on forces outside ourselves. The Stoics believed that when we confuse these two realms, when we try to control what we can't or neglect what we can, we invite unnecessary suffering into our lives. It's like trying to stop the rain by shouting at the clouds while forgetting that we could simply grab an umbrella. Understanding this dichotomy is key to cultivating patience. Think about how often impatience arises because we try to force results or outcomes that depend on factors outside our influence. For example, you might pour your heart into a project at work, but the ultimate approval still rests in someone else's hands. Or you might train diligently for a marathon, only to have the event cancelled due to weather. In these moments, frustration comes not from the situation itself, but from resisting the reality that it was never fully under your control to begin with. By embracing the dichotomy of control, we can shift our energy away from what we can't change and focus it entirely on what we can. If we return to the example of the marathon, the Stoic approach would remind us that while we couldn't control the cancellation, we could control our response. Perhaps we use that day to run on our own or to reflect on the growth we achieved during training. In doing so, we avoid wasting emotional energy on things outside our influence and instead channel it into actions aligned with our values. But how does this connect to long-term thinking? Here's where the Stoic insight becomes even more profound. When we redirect our focus to what we can control, our actions, decisions, and mindset, we create a sense of clarity and purpose that supports long-term goals. Impatience often stems from wanting quick fixes or immediate results, but long-term thinking requires us to plant seeds today that may not bear fruit for years. This mindset allows us to patiently navigate challenges, knowing that the most meaningful outcomes come from sustained effort and intentional choices. For example, imagine you're saving for a future goal, like buying a home or funding a passion project. If you focus on market fluctuations or unexpected expenses, both out of your control, it's easy to feel defeated or anxious. But if you concentrate on what you can control, such as your budgeting habits and financial decisions, you regain a sense of agency. Each step you take today, no matter how small, contributes to your larger vision. And when you embrace patience, you stop fixating on how far you still have to go and start appreciating every action that moves you closer. The dichotomy of control isn't just a strategy for avoiding frustration, it's a blueprint for living a more intentional, fulfilled life. By consciously focusing on what's within our power, we not only build patience but also develop the resilience and discipline needed to achieve our long-term aspirations. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed or impatient, ask yourself, is this something I can control? If not, let it go. If yes, take action. This simple question can transform not only how you handle daily annoyances, but also how you approach the big picture of your life. After all, the future you envision depends not on what happens to you, but on how you choose to respond to it. It's tempting to indulge in the pleasures of the moment. A spontaneous online purchase, a bag of chips instead of a home-cooked meal, or scrolling social media instead of tackling that important project. All these choices offer instant satisfaction. But as the Stoics remind us, momentary pleasures often come at the cost of long-term fulfillment. This is where the Stoic practice of temperance comes in. At its heart, temperance is about self-restraint, about learning to recognize which desires serve your higher goals and which merely distract you from them. It's the art of embracing delayed gratification, sacrificing the immediate for the sake of something greater in the future. Seneca, the Roman philosopher and statesman, said it best: "Do you ask what is the proper limit to wealth? It is, first, to have what is necessary, and second, to have what is enough." This speaks to far more than just money. It's about understanding the difference between necessity and excess, and how the chase for immediate gratification can often lead to dissatisfaction. What Seneca is urging us to consider is whether our short-term desires align with our long-term values. When you pause to reflect on this, you may find that the things you crave in the moment aren't truly what you want for your life as a whole. Take consumerism, for example. In today's world, we're bombarded with messages encouraging us to spend, consume, and upgrade. New gadgets, new clothes, new experiences are all presented as solutions to our restlessness. And yet, how often do these purchases deliver anything more than a fleeting sense of happiness? The Stoics would argue that giving into such impulses isn't just a waste of resources, but also of our mental and emotional energy. The more we chase these external rewards, the harder it becomes to focus on the internal work of building a meaningful life. Now consider how the principle of delayed gratification applies to productivity. Let's say you're working toward a difficult goal, maybe writing a book, launching a business, or mastering a new skill. Along the way, distractions will inevitably arise. It might be the allure of binge-watching your favorite series instead of writing just one more page, or the temptation to put off studying for an exam in favor of a night out. In these moments, temperance asks us to pause and reflect. Is this immediate pleasure worth derailing the progress I've made? By resisting that urge to indulge, you're not depriving yourself, you're investing in a future that aligns with your deeper values. One powerful real-life example of delayed gratification is the well-documented marshmallow experiment. In this study, children were offered a choice: take one marshmallow immediately or wait a set amount of time and receive 2 marshmallows instead. Decades later, researchers discovered that the children who were able to wait often achieved greater success in education, careers, and personal development. While the experiment might seem simple, its core truth is profound. The ability to delay gratification is one of the greatest predictors of long-term success and fulfillment. But practicing temperance isn't just about saying no to things, it's about saying yes to what truly matters. For instance, instead of giving in to the urge to buy yet another item you don't need, what if you put that money toward a long-term goal like financial independence or the pursuit of a passion project? Instead of succumbing to the temptation of procrastination, what if you use that time to nurture the skills or connections that will bring you closer to your aspirations? Each act of self-restraint strengthens your ability to align your daily choices with the future you want to create. And here's the beauty of this Stoic ideal. With practice, temperance becomes less about struggle and more about freedom. When you learn to forego the fleeting highs of instant gratification, you free yourself from the endless chase for more. You become the master of your desires rather than their servant. So, the next time you face a decision between short-term pleasure and long-term purpose, remember Seneca's wisdom. Ask yourself, what is truly enough for me? What will bring lasting contentment, not just momentary satisfaction? Making the harder choice now, guided by temperance, builds the foundation for a richer, more meaningful life. What if we embrace the present moment instead of fearing the future? This is a question that Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, deeply explored in his writings. To the Stoics, time was not an enemy to be conquered or controlled, but rather a natural, inevitable force, something that flows continuously, regardless of our wishes. And in that realization lies a profound truth. Fighting against the passage of time, whether through regrets about the past or anxieties about the future, is a battle we can never win. So, instead of resistance, the Stoics teach us to accept time as it is and align ourselves with its flow. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the fleeting nature of life. In his Meditations, he wrote, "Time is like a river made up of the events which happen, and a violent stream. For as soon as a thing has been seen, it is carried away, and another comes in its place, and this will be carried away too." This metaphor of a river captures the essence of time. It moves ceaselessly forward, carrying each moment away as soon as it arrives. The Stoics believed that clinging to what has passed or worrying about what might come only disconnects us from the one thing we truly have, the present moment. How often do we let the present slip through our fingers because we're caught up in what has already happened or what could happen next? Maybe you found yourself replaying an old mistake in your mind, lingering on what you should have done differently. Or perhaps you felt paralyzed by fears of what the future might bring, imagining worst-case scenarios that may never materialize. In both cases, the result is the same. The present moment, the only time you have any power to act, is lost. Marcus Aurelius would gently remind us that the past and future are outside our control. The past is fixed, unchangeable, no matter how much we analyze it. The future, on the other hand, is uncertain, shaped by countless factors beyond our influence. To spend our energy worrying about these realms of time is, in his view, to squander the opportunity to live fully in the now. Instead, he advises us to focus entirely on the present, on what we can do, think, and feel in this very moment. But what does it mean to truly accept the flow of time? It's not about ignoring the past or failing to plan for the future. Instead, it's about striking a balance. Reflecting on the past can teach us valuable lessons, and preparing for the future helps us set meaningful goals. The key is not to dwell excessively in either place. For example, if you've made a mistake, acknowledge it, learn from it, and move forward. Likewise, if you're planning for something ahead, do so thoughtfully, but don't allow fear of the unknown to rob you of your peace today. One powerful way to embrace this Stoic idea is through the practice of gratitude. When you focus on the present and take stock of what you have right now, your health, your relationships, or even just the simple beauty of the world around you, you begin to ground yourself in the here and now. Gratitude pulls your attention away from the unreachable past and the unpredictable future, anchoring you in the moment that truly matters. And let's not forget the liberating effect of accepting time's flow. When you stop resisting the passage of time, you free yourself from the exhausting pursuit of control. You let go of what you cannot change, and in doing so, create space to enjoy what's before you. Imagine watching the sun set. Would you try to freeze it in place, lamenting that it will soon disappear? Or would you savor its colors, knowing its beauty lies in its fleeting nature? The same perspective applies to life itself. By embracing the flow of time, you also begin to see the bigger picture. Each moment, whether joyful or challenging, is part of a larger cycle, a constant change that is neither good nor bad, it simply is. Understanding this can bring an incredible sense of peace. The Stoics remind us that time is impartial, moving forward regardless of our fears or regrets. When we stop trying to bend time to our will, we can finally start living in harmony with it, appreciating each moment as it comes and letting it pass when it must. So, the next time you find yourself dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, ask yourself, what is within my control right now? Turn your attention to this very moment. What can you do today, in this hour, in this minute, to live in alignment with your values? By focusing on the present, you step into the flow of time rather than resisting it, and in doing so, you begin to live with greater peace, clarity, and purpose. The Stoics believed that the key to navigating life's inevitable challenges lies in mastering your mind, particularly your thoughts and emotions. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This idea speaks directly to the practice of cognitive detachment, a powerful tool for cultivating resilience, maintaining peace of mind, and fostering patience. But what does cognitive detachment really mean in practical terms, and how can it help us develop a long-term mindset? At its core, cognitive detachment is about stepping back from your immediate emotional reactions and choosing not to let them control you. It's not about suppressing or ignoring your feelings, but rather observing them without judgment. Think of it as creating a mental space between the event you're experiencing and the emotions or thoughts that arise in response to it. When you achieve this level of awareness, you can respond to challenges more thoughtfully rather than being swept away by impulsive reactions. Imagine a situation where someone criticizes you unfairly. Your initial reaction might be anger, hurt, or frustration. Without cognitive detachment, it's easy to let those emotions take over, leading you to snap back defensively or dwell on the negativity for hours, maybe even days. But with the Stoic practice of detachment, you pause and ask yourself, is this criticism really about me, or is it more a reflection of the other person's mood or perspective? Does reacting emotionally serve any meaningful purpose? By creating this mental distance, you regain control over your response, preserving both your peace of mind and your energy for things that truly matter. Cognitive detachment is especially important when dealing with life's larger, more enduring challenges. For example, think about setbacks in pursuing a long-term goal, like building a business, saving for retirement, or training for a marathon. When obstacles arise, say, a financial loss, an unexpected injury, or a discouraging comment from someone you respect, it's easy to get bogged down in feelings of disappointment or self-doubt. But the Stoic approach reminds us that these emotions, while natural, are not the obstacle itself. They are simply your mind's response to the situation, and they can be managed. By detaching from the negativity, you can refocus on actionable steps to move forward, rather than being paralyzed by frustration or fear. Practicing cognitive detachment doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. It's about gaining clarity. When you separate your thoughts from the events that triggered them, you begin to see things as they truly are. This clarity fosters patience because it removes the urgency to fix or change everything immediately. Instead, it helps you recognize what's within your control and what isn't, guiding you to respond in a way that aligns with your long-term values and goals. For instance, let's say you're waiting for a promotion at work, but it keeps getting delayed due to factors outside your control. Without detachment, you might spiral into frustration or anxiety, feeling as though your hard work is going unnoticed. With detachment, however, you can reframe the situation. Instead of focusing on the delay itself, you can focus on what's within your power, consistently improving your skills, seeking feedback, or exploring other opportunities. This shift in perspective not only helps you remain patient, but it also ensures that your energy is channeled productively. One practical way to cultivate cognitive detachment is through mindfulness practices like journaling or meditation. Writing down your thoughts can help you step back and analyze them objectively, while meditation trains you to observe your emotions without getting caught up in them. Another Stoic technique is to ask yourself guiding questions such as, is this thought helping me or harming me? Or, what would happen if I chose not to react right now? These questions act as a mental pause button, giving you the space to respond rather than react. By mastering cognitive detachment, you equip yourself with the resilience to endure life's ups and downs and the patience to work steadily toward your goals. Epictetus reminds us that while we can't control what happens to us, we can always control how we interpret and respond to those events. And when we learn to approach challenges with this mindset, we not only protect our inner peace, but we also cultivate the strength and clarity needed to stay the course and build a meaningful life over time. The Stoics often spoke of living in harmony with nature, not just in the environmental sense, but in a deeper, philosophical way, aligning ourselves with the natural rhythms and realities of life. To them, nature wasn't just the world around us, it was the essence of how life unfolds, its unpredictability, its cycles of growth and decay, its moments of clarity and chaos. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he said, "Adapt yourself to the things with which your lot has been cast, and love sincerely the fellow creatures with whom destiny has ordained that you shall live." In this quote, Marcus reminds us that peace doesn't come from trying to bend life to our will, but from learning to adapt to life as it actually is. At its heart, the Stoic view of aligning with nature means accepting that life will always include change, uncertainty, and challenges. The world is constantly shifting, just as seasons move from summer to winter or rivers flow around rocks in their path. When we resist this natural flow, when we fight against things we can't control or insist that life should always go according to plan, we create unnecessary frustration and suffering. But when we embrace life's rhythms, even the unpredictable ones, we can find patience and strength in the knowledge that every moment is exactly as it's meant to be. Consider an example from daily life. Imagine you've spent months planning an outdoor wedding. You've carefully chosen every detail, from the flowers to the seating arrangements, and the day finally arrives only for an unexpected downpour to soak the ceremony. In that moment, you're faced with a choice. You can resist reality, becoming upset and frustrated that nature didn't follow your plan. Or you can choose to accept what's happened and adapt, finding the beauty and even the humor in the situation. Perhaps you move the celebration indoors, or maybe you invite the guests to dance in the rain. By aligning with nature's flow, you not only navigate the situation with grace, but you also free yourself from the mental and emotional burden of fighting a battle you can't win. This ability to adapt, especially in chaotic or unpredictable circumstances, is where patience truly comes alive. The Stoics believed that much of life's turmoil comes not from the events themselves, but from our refusal to accept them. When we resist reality, when we demand that the rain should stop, the traffic should clear, or the world should align perfectly with our expectations, we create tension within ourselves. But when we surrender to the natural order, not in defeat but in understanding, we find the patience to endure and even thrive. Take a look around you. Nature itself is one of the greatest teachers of this principle. Trees don't resist the wind, they bend and sway with it. Rivers don't argue with obstacles in their path, they flow around them, finding a new way forward. Even the sun sets without complaint, knowing it will rise again tomorrow. These rhythms remind us that life is not meant to be rigid, and neither are we. By aligning with nature's flow, we learn to adapt to what happens, rather than exhausting ourselves by clinging to what we think should happen. This mindset doesn't mean passively accepting everything as it comes. In fact, the Stoics emphasize taking action where you have influence, but it does mean recognizing the limits of your control and being at peace with the outcomes you cannot change. When you understand that life unfolds according to its own rhythm, you free yourself from the need to fight it. Instead, you find clarity and purpose in working with it, adjusting, adapting, and growing as circumstances evolve. The next time you're confronted by something unexpected, whether it's a sudden change in plans, a delayed opportunity, or even a personal loss, pause and consider, how can I align myself with what's happening right now rather than resisting it? What can I learn or gain from this moment, even if it wasn't what I hoped for? As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, adapting isn't just about enduring life, it's about embracing it as it is. When we do this, we not only cultivate patience, but also discover a deeper connection to the ever-changing, yet beautifully consistent flow of nature itself. What is it that you're working toward in life? What goals or aspirations truly matter to you? Take a moment to reflect on that. Maybe it's building a fulfilling career, fostering meaningful relationships, creating something that will outlast you, or simply striving to become the best version of yourself. Whatever it may be, having a clear sense of purpose is one of the most powerful tools we have, not just for direction, but for enduring the inevitable challenges and setbacks that life throws our way. And for the Stoics, purpose wasn't just important, it was essential. The Stoics believed that living with purpose was the foundation of a meaningful life. To them, purpose served as a guiding star, a steady point of focus that helped them navigate uncertainty, overcome obstacles, and remain patient through difficult times. Without it, they warned, it's far too easy to drift aimlessly, chasing fleeting desires or becoming overwhelmed by life's inevitable difficulties. But with purpose, challenges take on a new meaning. They're no longer just interruptions or frustrations. They become stepping stones on the path to something greater. Take a moment to think about the role purpose plays in how you handle setbacks. Imagine two people faced with the same challenge, say, long hours at work. One person views it as an endless grind, something they must endure with no clear payoff. The other sees it as an investment in a dream, perhaps building a business that aligns with their values or creating a better life for their family. Who do you think is more likely to remain patient and resilient? The difference lies in purpose. When your actions align with a deeper goal, the struggle becomes easier to bear because it's no longer just about the struggle, it's about what you're working toward. The Stoics often spoke about aligning one's actions with what they called nature or reason, which in simple terms means living in accordance with your purpose and values. Marcus Aurelius, for instance, frequently reminded himself to focus on what truly matters. In his meditations, he wrote, "People who labor all their lives but have no purpose to direct every thought and impulse toward are wasting their time, even when hard at work." For Marcus, every effort was meaningful because it was tied to his purpose, to serve his people with integrity and wisdom. This clarity of purpose allowed him to face immense pressures with patience and composure, even during times of war and political turmoil. But what happens when we lose sight of our purpose? This is when impatience often creeps in. When we lack a clear why behind our actions, it becomes easy to feel frustrated, unmotivated, or even defeated when progress feels slow. The Stoics would advise us to reconnect with what truly drives us, to remember why we started in the first place. This clarity can reignite our patience, allowing us to see setbacks not as reasons to quit, but as temporary pauses on a much larger journey. Purpose also transforms how we view long-term thinking. When your actions align with a meaningful goal, patience stops feeling like a burden and becomes a natural extension of your commitment. Take the example of someone training for a marathon. The early mornings, the sore muscles, the miles that feel endless, none of these are easy to endure. But for someone with a clear purpose, like pushing their own limits or raising awareness for a cause they care about, each step becomes part of a larger picture. The effort feels worthwhile because it's connected to something that matters deeply. If you're not sure what your purpose is, the Stoics would encourage you to start by reflecting on your values. What kind of person do you want to be? What legacy do you want to leave behind? Your purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It just has to be meaningful to you. Once you identify it, you'll find that patience comes more easily because you're no longer just waiting for something to happen. You're actively working towards something that gives your life meaning. So, the next time you find yourself growing impatient, pause and ask yourself, how does this moment fit into my larger purpose? How does enduring this challenge move me closer to what truly matters? With purpose as your guide, patience stops being something you have to force and instead becomes a natural result of living in harmony with your deepest goals. And as the Stoics remind us, few things are more powerful than a life lived with clarity and intention. When the road ahead feels overwhelming and your goals seem impossibly far away, the Stoics teach us to pause and narrow our focus to where life is actually happening in this very moment. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly when he said, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." What he's telling us is simple but profound. The future is nothing more than a series of present moments yet to come, and the only place you can act, grow, or make progress is right here, right now. Stoic thinking emphasizes the importance of presence because it is in the present moment that we find clarity, control, and peace of mind. When we allow our attention to drift too far into the future, worrying about outcomes, deadlines, or the sheer scale of what we're trying to achieve, it's easy to feel paralyzed. The big picture can weigh on us, leaving us overwhelmed or anxious. But by focusing on the task at hand, on the step directly in front of us, we reclaim our power. We stop being consumed by what might happen and instead pour our energy into what we can do right now. Take, for example, someone training for a marathon. If they constantly think about running 26 miles, it's easy to feel discouraged or question whether they're capable of finishing. But what if instead they focused on today's goal, running 3 miles with no concern for the full distance? By breaking the journey into manageable pieces, they can stay fully present, giving their best effort to each run without being overwhelmed by the end goal. This approach doesn't just make the process more manageable, it also allows them to appreciate the small wins along the way, like feeling stronger after a run or improving their pace. These little moments, when fully embraced, form the foundation of long-term progress. The Stoics remind us that life itself works this way. Instead of fixating on a distant outcome or worrying about whether we'll achieve it, we should give our full attention to the small, meaningful actions that move us forward. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on this in his meditations, writing, "Do every act of your life as though it were the last act of your life." This isn't about living recklessly or with urgency. It's about treating every moment as valuable, as worthy of your full focus and effort. When we approach life this way, even the smallest tasks, writing a single email, preparing a meal, or taking a quiet walk, become opportunities to live with presence and purpose. Let's apply this idea to a practical, everyday scenario. Imagine you have a long to-do list and looking at it all at once fills you with dread. Instead of letting that overwhelm you, focus on completing just one task at a time. Write that email, fold that laundry, make that phone call. Each time you finish something small, you're not only making measurable progress, but you're also training your mind to stay grounded in the present. This simple practice of presence builds momentum and reduces stress. You stop worrying about how much there is to do and start appreciating each moment of productivity for what it is, another step forward. Living in the present doesn't mean we ignore the future. The Stoics were firm believers in planning and preparing, but they understood that while we can plan for what's ahead, we can only act in the now. Our ability to shape the future depends entirely on how we choose to engage with the present. It's like planting a tree. You can envision the shade it will one day provide, but unless you tend to it today, watering it and ensuring its roots grow strong, that vision will never become a reality. So, the next time you find yourself consumed by the enormity of the bigger picture, pause and ask yourself, what small, meaningful action can I take right now? Redirect your focus to that moment, to that task. When you do, you'll find that the weight of the future grows lighter and the path forward becomes clearer. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, give your full attention to the present moment and trust that the future will take care of itself. By mastering this practice, you embrace life with greater calm, clarity, and a renewed sense of purpose. One moment, one action, one step at a time. Adversity is inevitable. Whether it's a setback at work, a personal loss, or even a global crisis, challenges are a natural part of life. But how we perceive and respond to these challenges makes all the difference. The Stoics believed that hardship wasn't something to resent or avoid, but something to embrace fully as an opportunity for growth. The key lies in reframing adversity not as a roadblock, but as fuel for becoming stronger, wiser, and more resilient. This perspective comes to life in the Stoic principle of amor fati, meaning love of fate. The idea of amor fati teaches us to not only accept what happens to us, but to actively embrace it, even when it's painful or difficult. It's about seeing every challenge, every moment of struggle, as an essential part of your journey. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, described this beautifully when he said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." What Seneca understood, and what the Stoics teach us, is that life's toughest moments are what shape us. They provide the friction we need to grow, to discover our strength, and to refine our character. Without adversity, our potential remains untested. This mindset does not mean pretending to enjoy suffering or pretending pain doesn't exist. Instead, it's about shifting your focus. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the Stoics would encourage you to ask, "How can this make me stronger? What can I learn from this?" By reframing hardship as an opportunity, you move from being a victim of your circumstances to being an active participant in your own growth. Let's take a modern example to bring this idea to life. Consider Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor who endured unimaginable suffering in Nazi concentration camps. In his book Man's Search for Meaning, Frankl writes about how he found purpose even in the face of such horror. He reframed his suffering as a chance to discover the depths of human resilience and the meaning that can be found even in the darkest of times. Rather than giving in to despair, he chose to see his suffering as a test of his inner strength. Today, his work has inspired millions, showing how adversity can lead to profound personal transformation. Now, you don't need to face something as extreme as Frankl did to practice amor fati. Opportunities for growth through adversity show up in everyday life too. Maybe you've experienced a setback in your career, like being passed over for a promotion. While the initial reaction might be frustration or disappointment, the Stoic approach would be to pause and ask, "What can I gain from this experience? Is there a skill I can refine? Could this setback open the door to a better opportunity down the road?" By reframing the situation, you not only navigate it with patience but come out of it stronger and better prepared for the future. Even physical challenges can illustrate this principle. Think of someone recovering from an injury. At first, the process might feel like an insurmountable obstacle, a long, difficult road filled with limitations and discomfort. But many find that through the journey of recovery, they develop qualities like discipline, gratitude for their body, and even a renewed sense of purpose. The adversity doesn't define them, what they do with it does. Those who practice amor fati discover that the more they lean into life's hardships, the stronger their patience becomes. This happens because they stop seeing challenges as interruptions to their plans and start viewing them as essential steps on the path to becoming their best selves. Each moment of difficulty becomes a chance to practice resilience, courage, and adaptability. And the more you adopt this mindset, the more you'll notice how life's challenges can, paradoxically, become gifts. So the next time you face something difficult, remember Seneca's wisdom. Embrace the friction as the force that polishes you. Instead of wishing things were easier or different, try asking yourself, how can I use this moment to grow? By reframing adversity as growth, you'll find that patience is no longer something you have to muster. It becomes a natural response to challenges because you understand that every setback is an opportunity in disguise. This is the essence of amor fati, not just accepting life as it comes but loving it, even when it's hard, because you know it's making you stronger. Reflection is one of the most powerful tools the Stoics used to navigate life with clarity, patience, and resilience. It might sound simple, just taking time to think deeply about your day or your actions, but for the Stoics, this daily practice was transformative. It allowed them to cultivate patience by analyzing their reactions to challenges and to develop foresight by learning from past experiences. Reflection, in many ways, is the key to unlocking the long-term thinking that Stoicism is known for. Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most famous Stoic philosopher, is a shining example of this practice. His personal journal, known today as *Meditations*, was never intended for anyone else to read. It was, quite literally, a space for him to reflect on his thoughts, actions, and the challenges of being a Roman emperor. What makes his reflections so impactful is their honesty and their focus on improvement. He didn't use his journal to dwell on failures or to vent frustrations. He used it as a tool to remind himself of his principles, to realign with his purpose, and to learn from the events of each day. Reading *Meditations* today, we see a man who repeatedly reminded himself to act with patience, to embrace adversity, and to live in harmony with his values. So how does this apply to us? The beauty of reflection is that it's not reserved for philosophers or emperors. It's a practice anyone can cultivate, and when done consistently, it can profoundly improve your mindset and your approach to life. One of the most accessible ways to start is through journaling. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to write about what happened, how you responded, and what you learned. You don't need to write pages and pages. Even a few simple questions can guide your thinking. Consider asking yourself, what went well today? Where did I lose my patience and why? How can I handle similar situations better in the future? These questions aren't about judging yourself instead. They're about observing your behavior with curiosity and compassion so that you can grow. Let's take an example. Imagine you were frustrated at work because a colleague missed a deadline, delaying your own progress. Without reflection, it's easy to carry that frustration with you, letting it influence your mood, your focus, and even how you treat others. But through journaling, you might write about the experience and realize something deeper. Perhaps your reaction stemmed not just from the missed deadline, but from your own unrealistic expectations or a lack of communication. Reflection allows you to see the bigger picture, to separate what's within your control from what isn't, and to plan how to handle similar situations with more patience and understanding in the future. Beyond easing immediate frustrations, reflection is also a tool for long-term growth. Over time, patterns start to emerge. You may notice recurring triggers for impatience or find areas where you consistently struggle to maintain focus on your goals. Identifying these patterns is the first step toward change. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to view life from a higher perspective, to see events as part of a larger whole. Reflection encourages this same mindset, helping you zoom out from daily annoyances and see how every moment, even the difficult ones, contributes to your personal growth. For those who prefer not to journal, daily reflection can take other forms. Some Stoics, like Seneca, recommended reviewing the day mentally before going to sleep. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? What could I have done better? This simple habit takes just a few minutes but creates incredible clarity over time. It's not about seeking perfection, it's about progress and self-awareness. The practice of reflection is like polishing a mirror. Each time you reflect, you remove a little of the distortion caused by emotions, distractions, or misunderstandings, allowing you to see yourself and your life with greater clarity. This clarity not only strengthens your patience in the moment, but also fosters foresight, helping you stay aligned with your long-term goals and values. So, if you're looking for a practical takeaway from Stoicism, this is it. Make reflection a daily ritual. Whether it's through journaling, mental review, or even recording voice notes, take time to pause, consider your actions, and learn from your experiences. As Marcus Aurelius shows us, consistent self-reflection isn't just a way to manage life's challenges, it's a path to becoming more patient, more intentional, and ultimately, more at peace with yourself and the world around you. Patience isn't just about waiting, it's about waiting well, with purpose and integrity. For the Stoics, this quality didn't simply arise from sheer willpower or passivity. It was deeply rooted in what they considered the four cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These virtues weren't just abstract ideals, they were practical tools that guided every thought, decision, and action. Together, they formed the foundation for living a life aligned with reason and values, and they are the source from which true patience flows. Let's start with wisdom. Wisdom, in the Stoic tradition, is the ability to see things as they truly are. It helps us distinguish between what is within our control and what is not, and it allows us to weigh the importance of our actions against the fleeting nature of our emotions. When we practice patience, wisdom reminds us to take a step back, to look at the bigger picture, and to consider the consequences of acting impulsively. For example, think of a heated argument. Wisdom steps in and asks, will saying this hurtful thing serve the situation, or is it better to hold back and respond thoughtfully? Patience, born of wisdom, helps us pause, reflect, and choose the path that aligns with our long-term goals and values, rather than succumbing to a momentary outburst. Next, there's courage. Patience and courage might not seem linked at first, but when you think about it, patience often requires incredible bravery. It takes courage to endure discomfort, to face uncertainty, and to persist when progress feels slow or setbacks feel overwhelming. Imagine someone recovering from an injury. The process of healing is often long and frustrating, requiring immense patience to follow through with therapies and allow the body to repair itself. Without courage, it's tempting to give up when the road feels too long or to rush the process at the expense of proper recovery. Courage fuels the strength to stay the course, reinforcing the patience required to see things through, no matter how challenging the journey becomes. Then we have justice, the virtue that reminds us to act in ways that are fair, honest, and aligned with the greater good. Patience, when viewed through the lens of justice, becomes more than a personal virtue. It becomes a way to honor others. Consider the patience required in relationships. It's easy to lose temper or demand instant results from the people around us, but justice guides us to treat others with understanding and respect. It reminds us that everyone is navigating their own struggles and challenges. A parent patiently teaching their child, or a manager mentoring an employee, embodies justice by recognizing the value of investing time and care in others. Justice anchors patience in empathy, making it not just an act of endurance but an expression of fairness and kindness. Finally, temperance. If any virtue is directly tied to patience, it's this. Temperance is the art of self-restraint, of moderating desires and impulses so they don't control us. It directly counters the urge for instant gratification, the impulse to act now, even when waiting would lead to better outcomes. Imagine you're saving money for a long-term goal, like starting a business or buying a home. Temperance is what helps you resist the temptation to spend on fleeting pleasures, reminding you to stay aligned with your larger purpose. Patience, underpinned by temperance, ensures we don't let our short-term cravings derail our long-term aspirations. What makes these virtues so powerful is how they work together to anchor patience in long-term thinking. Wisdom gives us perspective, courage gives us strength, justice reminds us to consider others, and temperance keeps us disciplined. When we cultivate these virtues, patience stops being something we simply practice in difficult moments. It becomes a reflection of our character and values. It helps us stay steady, no matter how long the journey or how tough the challenges. Take a moment to reflect, which of these virtues do you most rely on when practicing patience? Is it wisdom, helping you see the bigger picture, courage, guiding you through uncertainty, justice, reminding you to act with fairness, or temperance, keeping you grounded and in control? By identifying and cultivating these virtues, you not only strengthen your ability to be patient, but also deepen your connection to the values that guide your life. The Stoics knew that patience wasn't just about enduring the moment. It was about living with intention, integrity, and purpose. And when we root our patience in virtue, it becomes far more than a moment of waiting. It becomes a reflection of who we are and what we stand for. Fear of uncertainty is one of the greatest barriers to long-term thinking and patience. It's natural for the unknown to feel daunting after all. We like to know what's coming, to anticipate outcomes, and to feel in control of our lives. But the truth is, uncertainty is an unavoidable part of existence. Plans can change in an instant, outcomes can diverge from expectations, and no amount of planning can entirely eliminate the unknowns ahead. For many, this fear of what might happen, or what might not, becomes paralyzing, making it difficult to take action or stay committed to long-term goals. The Stoics, however, viewed uncertainty through a very different lens. Instead of resisting it, they taught us to embrace it with a combination of courage and preparation, transforming fear of the unknown into an opportunity for growth. Epictetus, one of the most practical and relatable Stoic philosophers, reminded us that while we cannot control external events, we can always control our reactions to them. He said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do, and you will go on well." Here, he points to a powerful truth. Uncertainty isn't something we can eliminate, it's something we must learn to accept. By focusing on what is within your control, you can face the unknown not with fear, but with calm resolve. The Stoics understood that uncertainty isn't the problem. It's our resistance to it, our attachment to specific outcomes, that creates unnecessary anxiety. Let's take a relatable example, a career change. Imagine you're considering leaving a stable job to pursue a passion project or a different opportunity. The idea excites you, but then the what-ifs start creeping in. What if I fail? What if this decision negatively impacts my financial security or my reputation? What if I regret it later? These doubts can feel overwhelming, locking you in place and keeping you from moving forward. The fear of uncertainty begins to undermine your ability to make decisions, to think long-term, or to trust in your resilience. The Stoic approach to such a situation starts with acceptance. Acknowledge that no path in life comes with guarantees. Even staying in your current role carries risks. Industries change, companies downsize, and circumstances shift. Instead of focusing on all the things that might go wrong, the Stoics would encourage you to ask, what is within my control here? Perhaps you can prepare by building a financial safety net, researching your new field, or seeking mentorship. By focusing on actionable steps, you redirect your energy from fear to preparation. This doesn't eliminate the uncertainty, but it equips you to face it with confidence. Another powerful Stoic practice for dealing with uncertainty is a technique known as premeditatio malorum or the premeditation of evils. This involves calmly imagining worst-case scenarios, not to dwell on them but to mentally prepare for them. For example, if your new career path doesn't go as planned, what could you do? Could you return to your old field, pivot to something else you've learned along the way? Envisioning these possibilities helps you realize that even worst-case outcomes are rarely as catastrophic as they first seem. Equipped with this perspective, you can approach uncertainty with courage, knowing you've prepared for the challenges it might bring. And courage is essential here. The Stoics viewed courage not as the absence of fear, but as the willingness to act in the face of it. Fear of uncertainty is entirely natural. It's what allows us to assess risks and make thoughtful decisions. But when we let that fear dominate, we lose sight of our potential and our goals. Courage is what allows us to step forward anyway, trusting in our ability to adapt and overcome. As Epictetus reminds us, difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Uncertainty, when embraced, becomes an opportunity to learn about yourself, your resilience, your problem-solving abilities, and your capacity for growth. The unknown is not something to run from, it's the space where true transformation happens. So, the next time you find yourself overwhelmed by the fear of uncertainty, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what am I trying to control that is outside my power? What practical steps can I take to prepare, and how can I reframe this unknown as an opportunity rather than a threat? By meeting uncertainty with the Stoic principles of courage, preparation, and acceptance, you'll not only navigate it with greater ease, you'll also unlock the patience and strength needed to keep building toward the future you envision. Resilience is the ability to endure life's setbacks without losing your inner composure. It's the strength to keep moving forward, even when the path is riddled with obstacles and adversity. For the Stoics, resilience wasn't just a desirable trait. It was essential for navigating life's inevitable difficulties, and at its core, resilience and patience are deeply intertwined. Resilience is what allows you to face hardships head-on, while patience gives you the steadiness to endure them over time. Together, they form a powerful combination that helps us stay grounded, no matter how turbulent life becomes. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, captured this beautifully when he said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." In this quote, Seneca reminds us that every trial we face has the potential to make us stronger if we approach it with the right mindset. Just as muscles grow through physical strain, our ability to endure grows with each challenge we overcome. Resilience, then, isn't about avoiding difficulty or brushing it aside. It's about meeting life's trials with patience and courage, using them as opportunities to refine both our character and our perspective. To see how this plays out in practice, consider the story of someone who has faced adversity but remained steadfast in their goals. Imagine a young entrepreneur who pours years of effort into building a business, only to see it falter after an economic downturn. It would be easy and entirely human for them to feel defeated, to question their abilities, and to give up. But instead, they choose to embody resilience. They take a step back to reassess what went wrong. They learn from their mistakes, adapt their strategy, and slowly begin to rebuild. Along the way, setbacks continue to arise: rejections, financial pressure, moments of self-doubt. But through each challenge, they stay focused on their ultimate goal, patiently working toward it one step at a time. This kind of resilience requires more than just grit. It demands a Stoic mindset. Rather than being weighed down by what's outside their control, they focus on what they can control: their effort, their attitude, and their willingness to try again. They view each obstacle not as an insurmountable barrier, but as a chance to grow stronger, more resourceful, and more determined. And perhaps most importantly, they embody patience. They accept that progress takes time, that setbacks are part of the journey, and that great outcomes are often the result of consistent effort over months or even years. The Stoics believed that resilience is forged through preparation and perspective. Preparation is about building a solid foundation so you're ready to face challenges when they arise. This might mean cultivating a balanced mindset, strengthening your support systems, or practicing self-discipline so you're better equipped to handle setbacks. Meanwhile, perspective allows you to see setbacks for what they truly are, temporary and often necessary steps in a much larger process. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The impediment to action advances action." What stands in the way becomes the way. This reflects the idea that obstacles aren't just something to endure, they're part of the path forward, and by overcoming them, we ultimately grow. Resilience is not a quality you're born with, it's something you build through practice and reflection. As challenges arise, each one is an opportunity to strengthen your ability to endure, to remain patient, and to press on with confidence. And with each hurdle you overcome, you develop a deeper understanding of your own strength, a strength that isn't rattled by adversity but shaped by it. So the next time you face a setback, pause and ask yourself, how can this make me stronger? What can I learn from this moment? And how can I use it to refine my approach to the future? Building resilience doesn't mean avoiding pain or pretending challenges don't exist. It means leaning into them with patience, courage, and the knowledge that every trial holds the potential for growth. Through resilience, the Stoics show us that life's difficulties aren't meant to break us, they're meant to shape us into stronger, wiser, and more capable versions of ourselves. Imagine you're standing in front of a massive mountain, overwhelmed by its size and the thought of climbing it. The more you focus on its height and steepness, the harder it feels to take even a single step forward. But now, imagine zooming out, seeing the mountain as part of a vast, stunning landscape. Suddenly, that climb feels less intimidating. You're reminded that the mountain is just one part of a larger journey. This powerful shift in perspective is at the heart of Stoicism and plays a crucial role in cultivating patience. The Stoics believed that our perspective shapes how we experience the world. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on this in his personal writings, encouraging himself to see events not as isolated, overwhelming catastrophes, but as small pieces of a much larger whole. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength, he wrote. For Marcus and for us, the ability to step back and view our challenges within the context of a grander timeline helps reduce their emotional weight. It's not about dismissing or ignoring difficulties, but about reframing them so they don't consume us. Let's break this down with an example. Say you're facing a career setback. Maybe you were passed over for a promotion you worked hard to earn. In the moment, it's easy to feel disheartened, even defeated. Thoughts like, "I'll never get ahead," or "this ruins everything," can start to creep in and overwhelm you. But what if you zoomed out? What if you looked at this moment not as the end of the road, but as one chapter in a much longer story? Maybe this setback is teaching you resilience or pushing you toward new opportunities you haven't yet considered. Maybe 5 years from now, this disappointment will feel insignificant compared to the greater successes you'll achieve. When you widen your perspective, the weight of the moment begins to lessen. It's no longer an all-encompassing failure. It's a temporary challenge and perhaps even a valuable lesson. Marcus Aurelius frequently used this zooming out technique to put his own troubles into perspective. As one of the most powerful figures in the ancient world, he faced immense pressure wars, political unrest, personal loss, and yet, he reminded himself time and again of the insignificance of his struggles in the grand scheme of things. He wrote, "Observe how transient and trivial all mortal things are. Yesterday a drop of semen, tomorrow a handful of ashes." While this might sound bleak at first, it's actually a liberating thought. By recognizing how fleeting our troubles are in the context of time, we free ourselves from their grip. We realize that what feels so overwhelming now is, in reality, just a small moment in an ever-flowing river of time. This shift in perspective doesn't just help us endure challenges, it also cultivates patience. When you view life's difficulties as temporary and relatively minor in the grand scheme, you're less likely to rush or panic. Instead, you can approach them with calm and clarity, knowing that time will continue to flow and this moment will pass. The Stoics called this cosmic perspective, and it's a practice that's just as relevant today as it was in ancient Rome. By reminding ourselves of the bigger picture, we can step back from the intensity of the present moment and respond with greater composure and patience. You can practice this yourself the next time you feel impatient or overwhelmed. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, in a month, a year, or even 5 years, how much will this matter? How does this moment fit into the larger story of my life? Often, you'll find that what feels monumental now will fade into a memory, or perhaps even become a stepping stone toward growth. This isn't to say that your feelings in the moment aren't valid, but zooming out helps you see that they don't have to define you. Ultimately, perspective is one of the greatest tools we have for developing patience. It allows us to step back, to see challenges as temporary rather than permanent, and to approach life with a mindset that values the bigger picture over short-term frustrations. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, how ridiculous and how strange to be surprised at anything which happens in life. When we embrace this perspective, we stop fighting time and start flowing with it, becoming calmer, steadier, and infinitely more patient in the process. Have you ever deliberately put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, not because you had to, but because you chose to? It might sound strange at first. Why would anyone willingly seek out discomfort when life already throws enough of it our way? But this is exactly the kind of practice the Stoics encouraged. They believed that by voluntarily facing small, controlled hardships, we could build resilience, strengthen our patience, and prepare ourselves for life's inevitable challenges. This exercise is known as voluntary discomfort *, and while it might not sound appealing, its benefits are profound. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most well-known philosophers, explained the power of this practice brilliantly. He said, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" In other words, by exposing ourselves to small, temporary discomforts, we remove the fear surrounding them. The things we often dread, hunger, cold, inconvenience, lose their power over us when we face them head-on and discover that we're stronger than we realized. But how does this practice work, and what does it have to do with patience? Imagine you're stuck in traffic on your daily commute. Your instinct might be to grumble, tap the steering wheel, or scroll through your phone to distract yourself. It's a minor inconvenience, but it often feels disproportionately frustrating in the moment. Now think about how voluntary discomfort could prepare you for this. If you've already practiced enduring mild hardships, spending a day without your favorite creature comforts, taking a cold shower, or fasting for a few hours, you're training your mind to respond with calmness and acceptance. Traffic no longer feels like an unbearable irritation because you've practiced tolerating things far more uncomfortable. This mental toughness carries over into all areas of life, making you more patient not only with small annoyances but also with larger challenges. Voluntary discomfort also helps us recalibrate our perspective. Too often, modern life conditions us to expect ease and convenience at every turn, instant gratification, climate-controlled comfort, fast responses, and zero delays. These expectations can make even minor disruptions feel intolerable. But when you deliberately step outside your comfort zone, you remind yourself how little you truly need to endure the things that matter. For example, you might choose to take the stairs instead of the elevator, walk rather than drive, or skip that morning coffee you rely on. These small acts of discomfort remind you that your happiness isn't tied to constant convenience. They teach you that you're capable of enduring and thriving without the comforts you thought were essential. Take the example of someone who practices fasting. By voluntarily going without food for a short period, they not only strengthen their willpower but also prepare themselves for moments when scarcity might not be a choice. The next time they face an unexpected difficulty, whether it's having to skip a meal during a busy day or dealing with a larger life challenge, they approach it with calm patience because they've already tested their limits in a controlled, purposeful way. This practice isn't about suffering for the sake of suffering. It's about building strength, both physical and mental, that carries over into all aspects of life. Now, I want you to reflect for a moment. How do you handle small inconveniences in your day-to-day life? Do you find yourself becoming frustrated or impatient over things like waiting in line, dealing with slow Wi-Fi, or sitting in traffic? And how might that change if you made a habit of practicing voluntary discomfort? The next time you face a minor inconvenience, see it as an opportunity rather than a nuisance. Use it as a chance to build patience and remind yourself that you're stronger than your impulses. By embracing small hardships, as the Stoics suggest, we gain a valuable skill, the ability to meet life's bigger challenges with grace and resilience. As Seneca reminds us, it's far better to prepare for hardship in a controlled setting than to be caught off guard when life inevitably tests us. Voluntary discomfort isn't about making life harder, it's about equipping yourself with the mental toughness to face whatever comes your way. And when you can endure life's small storms with patience, you'll be ready for the bigger ones when they arrive. One of the most liberating lessons the Stoics offer us is this: focus on your effort, not the outcome. In a world that often measures success by results, this idea might feel counterintuitive at first. Aren't we supposed to work toward goals, achieve them, and reap the rewards? While there's nothing wrong with setting goals, the Stoics remind us that we don't control the results, we only control the effort we put in. By learning to detach from immediate outcomes, we free ourselves from frustration and develop the patience to persist over the long term. Marcus Aurelius captured this idea perfectly when he wrote, "You have to assemble your life yourself, action by action, and be satisfied if each one achieves its goal as far as possible." No one can keep that from happening. Here, Marcus reminds us that the act of doing, the process itself, is where our focus should lie. The results, while important, are ultimately beyond our control. They depend on countless factors: other people, circumstances, timing that we can't influence. But our efforts, those are always within our reach, and they're what truly define us. Think about a gardener planting seeds. They can choose the best soil, water the plants carefully, and ensure they get sunlight, but they can't guarantee the outcome. Maybe the weather doesn't cooperate, maybe pests find their way into the garden. No matter how hard they try, the ultimate result is never fully in their hands. The Stoics would tell us that the gardener's success isn't measured by whether the seeds grow, it's measured by their dedication to the process. Did they do everything they could within their control? If so, they've done their part, and the outcome, whatever it may be, must be accepted with grace. This mindset is invaluable for cultivating patience. When we focus solely on outcomes, we set ourselves up for constant frustration. We might put in weeks, months, or even years of effort, only to see things not go the way we hope. Without the Stoic perspective, it's easy to feel defeated and give up. But when we shift our attention to the effort itself, when we find satisfaction in simply doing the work, we can keep moving forward even when results take time to materialize. Detaching from outcomes transforms obstacles into opportunities to refine our process, learn from mistakes, and grow stronger. Take the example of someone pursuing a creative project like writing a novel. If they're fixated on immediate results, say, becoming a bestseller overnight, they're likely to feel impatient and discouraged when progress is slow. But if they focus on the act of writing itself, on the daily discipline of putting words on the page, they'll find fulfillment in the process. Whether the novel becomes a bestseller or goes unnoticed, the effort is never wasted. The writing itself becomes the reward, and with that shift in perspective, they develop the patience to see the project through. This principle also applies to how we approach personal growth. Imagine you're trying to build a new habit, like exercising regularly or meditating each morning. If you expect immediate results, visible changes in your body, or immediate mental clarity, you're setting yourself up for frustration. But if you focus on simply showing up each day, on honoring the small, consistent effort, you'll find patience comes naturally. Over time, progress will follow, but it will be a byproduct of your dedication, not the sole measure of your success. The Stoics knew that detaching from outcomes doesn't mean giving up on goals or ambition. It means recognizing that true success lies in the effort itself, in showing up and doing the work for its own sake. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to work, not expecting applause or fearing criticism. This is a powerful lesson for all of us. When you let go of the need for immediate results, you free yourself from distractions, from impatience, and from the countless what-ifs that can derail your focus. You gain the ability to fully immerse yourself in the present task, to commit wholeheartedly to the process, and to trust that the outcome will unfold as it's meant to. So, the next time you find yourself anxious for results or impatient for progress, pause and ask, am I focusing on what I can control? Am I satisfied with the effort I'm putting in? By shifting your mindset in this way, you'll find that patience isn't something you have to force. It becomes a natural part of your journey, giving you the steadiness to keep moving forward one step at a time. Self-discipline and patience are two sides of the same coin, each reinforcing the other to create a steady, resilient mindset that can withstand challenges and distractions. At its core, patience is the ability to endure without giving in to frustration or impulsivity. But endurance alone isn't enough. What fuels patience, what gives it strength over time, is self-discipline. This is the ability to manage your desires, resist distractions, and align your actions with your long-term values rather than short-term cravings. Together, self-discipline and patience form a powerful partnership, each sharpening and supporting the other. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, understood this connection deeply. He said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." To the Stoics, freedom wasn't about doing whatever you want, whenever you want. It was about having the self-control to act in harmony with reason and purpose, even when impulses try to pull you in the opposite direction. This mastery over your own impulses isn't merely about restriction. It's about choosing the harder, more meaningful path over fleeting gratification. When you practice self-discipline, you train yourself to hold steady in moments of temptation, reinforcing the patience needed to achieve meaningful goals and navigate life's ups and downs. Let's think about how this interplay works in everyday life. Imagine you've set a goal to save money for a long-term dream, like starting a business or traveling the world. Temptations will inevitably arise: a sale on clothes you don't need, an invitation to an expensive night out, or an impulse to upgrade your gadgets. It's self-discipline that helps you pause and ask, does this serve my larger purpose? By exercising restraint in small, everyday decisions, you not only strengthen your ability to stay focused, but also develop the patience to stick with your goal over time. Each time you resist the immediate pull of desire, you're training yourself to tolerate the discomfort of waiting, knowing that the long-term reward is worth it. Daily practices can help you cultivate this combination of self-discipline and patience. For example, limiting screen time is a simple but powerful exercise. In a world of endless scrolling and constant notifications, it's easy to lose hours to your phone or computer, chasing short bursts of entertainment or distraction. By setting boundaries like turning off notifications during work hours or taking regular breaks from social media, you reclaim your focus and reinforce your ability to resist instant gratification. At first, it might feel uncomfortable or even frustrating, but over time, this practice strengthens your capacity for patience. You learn to tolerate the initial discomfort of saying no to distractions in exchange for more meaningful use of your time. Mindfulness is another excellent practice for building self-discipline and patience simultaneously. When you take even a few minutes each day to sit in silence, observe your thoughts, or focus on your breath, you're training yourself to stay present. You're teaching your mind not to jump from one distraction to another or to react impulsively to every stimulus. Over time, this ability to stay grounded in the moment naturally spills over into other areas of life. Whether you're waiting in a long line, navigating a stressful situation, or working toward a long-term goal, mindfulness helps you respond with calmness and intention rather than impatience. Another example is delaying small comforts to train your willpower. For instance, if you love coffee, try waiting an extra hour in the morning before making your first cup. It's a minor inconvenience, but it's not about the coffee, it's about practicing the skill of delaying gratification. By intentionally creating small moments of discipline like these, you build the mental muscles needed to manage larger challenges with grace and patience. The beauty of this interplay between self-discipline and patience is that it creates a virtuous cycle. The more you practice self-discipline, the more patience you develop. And the more patient you become, the easier it is to maintain discipline in the face of temptation or distraction. Over time, this cycle transforms how you approach both everyday decisions and the larger challenges of life. It's not about being overly rigid or denying yourself enjoyment. It's about mastering your impulses so that your choices align with your deepest values and aspirations. As Epictetus reminds us, freedom comes from mastery over oneself. By practicing self-discipline in the small moments, resisting distractions, delaying gratification, and staying focused, you lay the foundation for a life built on patience, clarity, and purpose. And in doing so, you not only endure life's challenges but also rise above them, moving toward your goals with steady, unwavering resolve. Setbacks are like storms. When you're caught in the downpour, it feels all-encompassing. The sky darkens, the rain pounds relentlessly, and it can seem like it will never end, but no storm lasts forever. Eventually, the rain stops, the clouds clear, and the sun emerges once again. The Stoics remind us that, like those passing storms, setbacks and difficulties in life are temporary. They may feel overwhelming in the moment, but they aren't permanent fixtures. And when you can truly grasp this perspective, it becomes much easier to endure challenges with patience and dignity. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, offered profound advice on handling hardship. He said, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." At first glance, this might seem pessimistic, but Seneca's not telling us to despair. He's reminding us that hardship is a natural and inevitable part of the human experience. Once we accept that adversity is woven into the fabric of life, we can stop resisting it and start seeing it for what it really is, a temporary challenge, not an insurmountable fate. Imagine a setback you might face in your own life, missing out on a job opportunity you worked hard for, experiencing a delay in achieving a long-term goal, or dealing with an unforeseen obstacle in your personal life. In the moment, it's easy to feel like the setback defines everything, that this one event is the full picture of your life. But the Stoics urge us to zoom out, to look at setbacks not as the conclusion of our story, but as a single chapter in a much larger narrative. Seneca invites us to ask, is what I'm experiencing right now truly unbearable, or am I simply forgetting that this too will pass? One way to practice this mindset is to see setbacks as opportunities for reflection and growth. When life doesn't go according to plan, we're often forced to pause and reassess. What can this moment teach you? Perhaps the delay is showing you that perseverance matters more than speed. Or maybe the setback is redirecting you to a path that's ultimately better for you, even if you can't see it just yet. The Stoics believe that every challenge contains the seed of potential. It's not the setback itself that matters, it's how you choose to respond to it that defines your character. Let's return to the metaphor of the storm. When you're standing in the rain, you could curse the weather or panic at the thunder, but neither reaction will make the storm pass any faster. The Stoic response would be to endure it with calmness and patience. Perhaps you take shelter, perhaps you simply accept the discomfort knowing it won't last. Either way, you wait out the storm with dignity, trusting that the sun will eventually return. And when it does, you'll emerge stronger than you were before, having weathered the challenge without letting it break you. So, how do you handle setbacks in your own life? Do you find yourself resisting them, wishing things were different, or feeling as though the difficulty is permanent? Or can you shift your perspective, reminding yourself that setbacks are just temporary storms? The next time you're faced with a delay or an unexpected obstacle, try pausing for a moment and asking yourself, will this matter 6 months from now? A year from now? Most often you'll find that the answer is no. This reminder can help you approach challenges with the same calm and steady mindset that the Stoics cultivated. In the end, setbacks are not roadblocks, they're detours. Though they may take you on an unexpected path, they don't stop your journey. As the Stoics teach us, adversity is fleeting, but your capacity to endure is lasting. And when you respond to life's challenges with patience and dignity, you prove to yourself that no storm is strong enough to stop you. If you've ever faced a challenge alone, you know how daunting it can feel. Yet, when you have others by your side, whether they're offering support, guidance, or even just the shared experience of walking a similar path, the weight of that challenge feels somehow lighter. This idea is deeply embedded in Stoic philosophy, which teaches us that we are not isolated beings. Instead, we are all interconnected, and by embracing community, we can cultivate the patience and perspective needed to grow. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, reminded himself time and again of the importance of unity and collaboration. In his Meditations he wrote, "We were born to work together like feet, hands, and eyes, like the 2 rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. To feel anger at someone, to turn your back on them, these are obstructions." What Marcus is touching on here isn't just the need to get along with others. It's the idea that our greatest strength lies in working together, in supporting one another as part of a greater whole. When it comes to patience and long-term growth, community plays a vital role. Surrounding yourself with people who share similar goals or values creates an environment that fosters understanding and resilience. Picture this: you're learning a new skill, whether it's mastering a musical instrument, starting a business, or training for a marathon. Doing it alone can feel isolating. The setbacks weigh heavier and progress seems slower. But when you're part of a community, perhaps a group of fellow musicians, entrepreneurs, or athletes, something powerful happens. You learn from their experiences, you see how they've handled challenges, and they inspire you to keep going when you feel like giving up. their encouragement, their insights, and even their struggles remind you that growth is rarely linear and patience becomes easier when shared with others. This sense of interconnectedness also helps soften the frustrations that come with dealing with others. No one is perfect. Friends, family, co-workers, and even strangers will occasionally test our patience. But when we view these interactions through the Stoic lens of community, we begin to understand that patience isn't just about enduring others, it's about recognizing that we all play a role in each other's growth. A difficult conversation with a colleague can teach us how to listen more effectively. A moment of frustration with a loved one can challenge us to respond with kindness rather than irritation. These experiences, though uncomfortable, help us develop the patience needed to navigate the complexities of relationships. The Stoics also understood that community holds us accountable to our goals. When you're surrounded by people who are committed to growth, their dedication has a way of inspiring your own. Imagine being part of a group that regularly reflects on their progress or discusses challenges openly. In moments when your patience is wearing thin or your motivation fades, these people serve as a reminder of what you're working toward and why it matters. Their support can reignite your focus and give you the strength to persevere. Of course, the Stoic idea of community isn't just about the people you know personally. It extends to humanity as a whole. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about viewing himself as a part of the larger human family, where every action he took, no matter how small, was connected to the greater good. This perspective is a powerful antidote to impatience. For example, when dealing with a stranger's rudeness, you might remember that they, too, are navigating their own struggles, just as you are. This shift in mindset helps us approach others with empathy, fostering patience not only with them but also with ourselves. So ask yourself, who are the people in your life who inspire you to be patient, to think long-term, and to stay committed to your values? How can you connect more deeply with those who share your goals or seek out communities that align with your aspirations? By embracing the Stoic principle of interconnectedness, you'll find that patience grows naturally, not as a solitary act of endurance, but as a shared journey of learning and growth alongside others. After all, as Marcus Aurelius reminds us, we were born to work together, and it's in unity that we find the strength to persevere. Picture this: you've been offered a new job opportunity. It promises a higher salary and the prestige you've been craving, but it will also demand longer hours, more travel, and less time with your family. On the surface, it seems like an obvious choice. Who wouldn't want to climb the career ladder? Yet, something in the back of your mind gives you pause. Is this decision aligned with your long-term goals? Will it serve your deeper values, or is it simply a tempting short-term gain that might lead to long-term dissatisfaction? This is where Stoic patience and long-term thinking become invaluable tools for making decisions in our modern world. At its core, Stoicism teaches us to pause, reflect, and act with intention. Instead of rushing into choices based on immediate desires or external pressures, the Stoics would encourage us to take a step back and evaluate our decisions through the lens of our values, purpose, and the big picture. In this moment, the principle of patience becomes your greatest ally, not just the patience to wait, but the patience to think deeply and resist impulsive or emotionally driven choices. Let's break this down with practical applications in 3 key areas: career, finances, and relationships. In your career, it's easy to be swayed by offers of higher pay or faster promotions. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us of the importance of aligning our work with our purpose. He wrote, "Let not your mind run on what you lack as much as on what you have already." Before leaping into a new role, try asking yourself, does this position align with the kind of life I want to live? Does it contribute to my growth, fulfillment, or well-being? Patience here means taking the time to weigh both the tangible and intangible aspects of a job's financial rewards versus the toll on your health, your relationships, or your sense of purpose. If the costs outweigh the benefits, the Stoic approach might advise you to slow down, gather more information, or even decline the offer in favor of a more balanced path. In the realm of finances, Stoicism reminds us that short-term gratification often comes at the expense of long-term stability. Imagine you're debating whether to buy a luxury car that's outside your budget. The thrill of driving it is enticing, but the Stoic principle of temperance, moderating desires and living within your means, urges us to pause. Epictetus would ask us to separate what we want from what we truly need, focusing on what brings lasting contentment rather than fleeting pleasure. Patience in financial decisions means resisting the pressure to make impulsive purchases or keep up with societal expectations. Instead, it's about cultivating the discipline to save for your long-term priorities, like buying a home, retiring early, or building a safety net. A Stoic might encourage you to envision your future self 5, 10, or 20 years down the road, and ask whether today's choice brings you closer to or further from that vision. And when it comes to relationships, patience is perhaps more essential than ever. In a world of instant messaging and quick connections, it's tempting to rush into commitments or let impatience dictate how we communicate with others. The Stoics teach us to approach relationships with understanding, empathy, and a willingness to listen. Seneca said, "It is a great thing to know the season for speech and the season for silence." Practicing patience in relationships means taking the time to truly understand another person's perspective before reacting. It means cultivating trust and depth over time, rather than expecting instant closeness or resolution. For example, in a conflict with a loved one, the Stoic approach would encourage you to pause and consider, are my words contributing to harmony, or am I speaking out of anger or frustration? Choosing patience allows you to build stronger, more meaningful connections. So how can you apply these principles today? Start small. The next time you're faced with a significant decision, whether it's about your career, your finances, or your relationships, practice what the Stoics would do. Pause, reflect, ask yourself whether this choice aligns with your long-term goals and values. Use patience as a tool to resist the allure of quick fixes or immediate rewards, and instead focus on what will bring lasting fulfillment. Over time, these small, mindful choices will add up, helping you build a life that reflects the wisdom and clarity of Stoic philosophy. Patience and long-term thinking are not just lofty ideals. They are skills that can be nurtured through consistent practice, and the Stoics have given us a timeless framework for doing exactly that. By recognizing the dichotomy of control, we learn to focus on what we can influence: our thoughts, choices, and actions, and let go of the things that remain outside our grasp. This simple yet profound shift frees us from unnecessary frustration and allows us to channel our energy where it truly matters. Reframing adversity, another key Stoic practice, teaches us to see challenges not as obstacles but as opportunities for growth. Seneca reminds us that difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Life will always present hardships, but it's how we interpret and respond to them that shapes who we become. Each setback, when reframed, becomes a stepping stone toward resilience and greater self-mastery. And then there's the practice of focusing on the present. Marcus Aurelius urged himself and us to confine yourself to the present. Worrying about the future or clinging to the past only distracts us from the one moment where we have true agency, the here and now. Every decision we make to patiently endure, to stay committed to our values, and to work toward our long-term goals happens in this present moment. These principles, though grounded in ancient philosophy, are incredibly relevant to the challenges of modern life. Whether you're striving for success in your career, building stronger relationships, pursuing personal growth, or simply seeking a sense of calm amidst life's chaos, Stoic practices offer a roadmap to navigate it all with patience, purpose, and clarity. As we come to the end of this exploration, let me leave you with a final thought from Seneca. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough, and it has been given in sufficiently generous measure to allow the accomplishment of the very greatest things if the whole of it is well invested. This quote serves as both a wake-up call and an invitation. Time is a finite resource, but when we approach it with patience and long-term thinking, when we stop chasing fleeting distractions and commit to what truly matters, we can live a life of depth and purpose. So here's a reflective question for you to consider. How can you incorporate these Stoic practices into your daily life? Perhaps it's starting small, taking a moment each day to identify what's within your control, or reframing a minor annoyance as a lesson in patience. Or maybe it's embracing the habit of journaling to reflect on your progress and realign with your values. Whatever it may be, try weaving Stoicism into your routine and see how it transforms your perspective. If this video has sparked any insights or resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share your reflections in the comments below. What's one Stoic practice you're excited to try? And if you found this content helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss future explorations of Stoic wisdom and how it can enhance modern life. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I'll see you next time. Remember, patience is strength, and in every moment you have the power